Welcome to General Psychology 201. My name is Eric Kim. I'm your instructor for Psychology 201 online. This is a video lesson for one of the perspectives of psychology, cross-cultural. You can get copies of the lesson just to the left of the link that you use to watch this video. There are 8 major perspectives of psychology that your book talks about. When you start learning about something, and in this context, the perspectives of psychology, start off slowly, and then as you go along, add more information. I've listed the 8 perspectives of psychology here in the sequence that your book talks about. If you reorganize the perspectives of psychology and look at their first letters, there's 2 B's, 2 C's, 2 P's, and you can spell the word he. These can serve as hints or retrieval cues as to the name of the 8 perspectives of psychology: biological, behavioral, cross-cultural, cognitive, psychodynamic, positive psychology, humanist, and evolutionary perspective. So start off slowly, get the first letter, then get the name, then get a description of the perspectives of psychology, then give examples of them. On the next page of the lesson, there's a brief description of the different perspectives of psychology. The cross-cultural perspective of psychology studies how culture reflects and shapes the psychological processes of the individuals in that culture. 2 main distinctions in cultural psychology, or cross-cultural psychology, is the collectivist culture and the individualistic culture. Collectivist cultures like China, Japan, Native American cultures, Hispanic cultures, some African American cultures tend to focus on the group. A person's self-esteem is defined by their relationship to other members of their own group. They tend to focus on context a little bit more than the individual. So in this image down below of an aquarium, collectivist cultures tend to focus on the central features, and in this case, the fish. They also focus on some of the other features, such as the plant, the rocks. They tend to look at the central feature and the environment. Individualistic cultures, like the United States, Canada, Western Europe, Australia, when they focus their attention, they tend to focus their attention on the self, the individual, how they contribute to society, how they contribute to the workplace. They are the central feature of perception. And when they look at the aquarium, they tend to focus on the central feature of the aquarium. They tend not to look at the environment. This idea of collectivist and individualistic cultures, they are not an either-or sort of thing. Like many things in psychology, they are 2 ends of a spectrum where there is a lot of variation in between. Using the Avengers as an example to contrast collectivist cultures and individualistic cultures, collectivist cultures, again, look at the group, how the group interacts with one another. So with the Avengers, there might be focusing on how Thor, Captain America, Hawkeye, Iron Man, Black Widow, and the Hulk all interact with one another, how they function as a team, and how their success is interdependent. So that's one word that goes with collectivist cultures. They're interdependent. Individualistic cultures tend to be a little bit more independent. The focus is on one individual. In my example, Captain America tends to get a lot of attention, and he is the central figure of the movie, of the storyline. And the other Avengers, Hawkeye, Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, and the Black Widow, are more supporting characters in a more individualistic orientation. I kind of see this a little bit more with the X-Men movies. A collectivist culture might focus on the team of X-Men, Professor Xavier, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Gambit, Rogue, and Wolverine, and how they interact with one another, how they work together to overcome an enemy. Some of the other later X-Men movies tend to focus mostly on Wolverine as the central figure, how he drives the story, and many of the other X-Men tend to be more supporting characters. Some other differences between collectivist cultures and individualistic cultures. These examples come from another textbook that we used to use. Olympic gold medalist reaction. Collectivist culture tend to focus on the group, the people around them. So they might respond to the reaction of winning an Olympic medal as, here's the best coach in the world, the best manager in the world, all of the people who supported me, all of the people around me. These are the people that helped me become the person I could be. An individualist culture might focus on what they can do, what they needed to do to be successful, what I need to do. It's all about them. Again, these are two ends of an extreme. Related to the Olympic medalist reaction, if you listen to Naomi Osaka in that tournament against Serena Williams, when she explained her success, she tended to have a little bit more collectivist orientation and talked a little bit about the people around her. Using the cross-cultural perspective, looking at the collectivist culture and the individualistic culture, with the television show Breaking Bad. I haven't seen Breaking Bad. I've been told it's a very good show. Bryan Cranston, one of the lead stars of Breaking Bad. If you're more of an individualistic orientation and try to explain success, you might explain it as Bryan Cranston is a great actor, probably is, but he's a great actor. He does his lines well. The focus is on Bryan Cranston as an individual, him driving the story. A more collectivist orientation would focus on Bryan Cranston as well as his supporting cast, the writers, the directors, all of the people who helped make the television show a success. So you're focusing more on the periphery, those people involved in a collectivist culture, whereas individualistic cultures tend to focus on them as a success. In the interview I did here with Bryan Cranston, he did attribute the success of the show to lots of people. So he tended to have a little bit more of a collectivist orientation when explaining the success of the show. Culture can influence interpretation of the world around you. So this really doesn't have to do with individualistic versus collectivist orientation, but how culture can influence the world around you. So the top picture, picture A, this is the Mühlen-Lyer illusion. And in the Mühlen-Lyer illusion, this vertical line on the right tends to be perceived as longer than the vertical line over here on the left. If you go and measure them, they're actually the same size. Now, American and Western cultures tend to fall prey to the Mühlen-Lyer illusion. African cultures tend not to fall prey to the Mühlen-Lyer illusion. They do see these lines as quite similar. The general explanation for this is that in Western cultures, we have square buildings, rectangular buildings, with edges and corners, as illustrated in the top center and right-hand picture. African cultures that live in circular huts called yurts, they don't have a lot of corners in their buildings, so their culture tends not to have these edges with corners that either point up or point down. In the bottom left-hand picture, Western cultures tend to see this purple square as a window. African cultures tend to see this more as an object on a woman's head. And again, the point of this is that culture can influence perception. This other picture on the right, Americans and Western cultures see the archer shooting at the antelope. African cultures tend to see this archer as shooting at the baby elephant. So the point of this, again, is that culture influences perception. Experience influences perception. These things called individualistic cultures and collectivist cultures influence how we perceive the world around us. It has implications in terms of perception, has influences in terms of social psychology, which we'll talk about in 203. This ends this video lesson. Thank you.